On September 30th, 1955, a highway patrol officer named Ernest Tripke pulled over a silver Porsche 550 Spider on Route 99 near Wasco, California. The driver was doing 65 in a 55 zone. The officer wrote the ticket, sent the car on its way, and thought nothing of it. 2 hours later, that same car was unrecognizable, folded into a ditch at the intersection of routes 466 and 41 near Sholem. The driver was 24 years old. His name was James Dean. Most people know he died young. What most people don't know is how that car came to exist, who tried to warn him away from it, and what happened to the wreckage in the decades that followed. A story involving a mechanic who walked away minutes before impact, a curse that may have been manufactured, and a car that seemed to destroy everyone who touched it. James Dean bought the Porsche 550 Spider on September 21st, 1955, 9 days before he died in it. He paid $7,000 for it, which in today's money sits somewhere around $80,000. The 550 was not a road car in any comfortable sense. Porsche built only 90 of them, primarily for racing. It weighed less than 1,300 pounds, sat low enough that other drivers had trouble seeing it at intersections, and produced enough speed for a track. On an open highway in 1955, without the safety standards that would come a decade later, it was about as forgiving as a motorcycle. Dean had been racing seriously for about a year. He'd run at Palm Springs, at Bakersfield, at Santa Barbara. He was good, not professionally gifted, but genuinely competitive. His studio, Warner Brothers, had begged him to stop. His contract for Giant actually included a clause prohibiting him from racing during production. Filming had wrapped just weeks before he bought the Spider. He picked up the car from Competition Motors in Hollywood. Before he even drove it off the lot, he had it painted with his racing number, 130, and the nickname Little Bastard stenciled on the tail. That name came from his friend and acting coach, Bill Hickman, who called him that as a term of affection. Dean thought it was funny. He had it painted on in cursive. The plan for September 30th was to drive the Porsche up to Salinas for a race, rather than trailer it. Dean wanted the break-in miles on the engine. He brought along his German mechanic, Rolf Wutherick, who sat in the passenger seat. Hickman and a photographer named Sanford Roth followed behind in a Ford station wagon. Actor Alec Guinness had reportedly told Dean the week before that the car looked sinister and that Dean would be dead within a week if he drove it. Guinness later confirmed this story in interviews. Whether Dean took it seriously is unclear, but he drove the car anyway. Around 3:30 in the afternoon, they stopped at a diner in Blackwell's Corner near Lost Hills. Dean ate an apple and drank some milk. Another racing driver, Lance Reventlow, Barbara Hutton's son, happened to be there. The two talked briefly about the Salinas race. Dean got back in the Porsche and kept north on Route 466. The sun was dropping in the west, directly in the line of vision for anyone driving east toward the intersection at Sholem. A 23-year-old Cal Poly student named Donald Turnipseed was driving a black and white 1950 Ford Tudor West on 466, planning to turn north onto Route 41. He later said he never saw the Porsche coming. The two cars met at approximately 5:45 p.m. Turnipseed's Ford clipped the front of the Spider and sent it spinning. Dean died at the scene, or shortly after arrival at Paso Robles War Memorial Hospital, depending on the account. Wutherick was thrown clear and survived, though with serious injuries. Turnipseed walked away with minor cuts. He was never charged. He died in 1995, refusing almost all interviews about that afternoon. The wreckage of the 550 Spider was purchased almost immediately by a doctor named William Eschrich and a garage owner named George Barris. Barris is the name that appears most often in the story that followed because Barris actively promoted it. According to Barris, the car's bad luck began the moment it arrived at his shop. A mechanic was reportedly injured when the engine slipped during removal. The engine and drivetrain were sold to two physicians, Troy McHenry and William Eschrich, who both raced them at the Pomona Fairgrounds in October 1956. McHenry died in that race when his car spun out. Eschrich was injured in a separate incident the same day. The shell of the car was loaned to the California Highway Patrol for a safety exhibit. During transport, the truck carrying it crashed, and the driver suffered a broken hip. At a display in Fresno, the garage where the car was stored caught fire. The Spider itself reportedly survived the fire with no additional damage, which Barris cited as the strangest part of all. The car was eventually stolen, or, depending on the account, lost in transit, somewhere around 1960. George Barris claimed it was being shipped back to him when it vanished from a sealed rail car in Florida. No satisfactory explanation was ever produced. The car has never been found. It is worth noting that Barris had a financial interest in keeping the curse narrative alive. He sold memorabilia, gave interviews, and built his career in part on his association with celebrity vehicles. Some of the injury and accident stories attached to the Spider are difficult to verify independently, but the deaths, Dean's, McHenry's, are documented, and the car is genuinely gone. Rolf Wutherick, the mechanic who survived the crash, had a difficult time with what came after. He was badly injured at Sholom, spent months recovering, and reportedly struggled for years with what witnesses described as guilt and psychological distress. He gave a detailed account of the crash to a German magazine in 1957, describing the moment of impact and Dean's final seconds. He later became a mechanic again, returned to Germany, and in 1981 died in a car accident of his own. He was 53. Sanford Roth, the photographer who was following in the station wagon, arrived at the crash site within minutes. He took photographs at the scene that he never published during his lifetime. One of them reportedly showed Dean's body still in the wreckage. Roth said he took them only so there would be a record, not for distribution. He died in 1962. The photographs were later discovered among his estate. The intersection at Sholom is still there. A Japanese businessman named Seda Onishi, who had been a Dean fan since the 1970s, funded the installation of a stainless steel memorial tree near the spot in 1977. It still stands. People leave flowers, photographs, and toy Porsches at the base of it. On the anniversary each year, a small number of people drive out to Route 46, the road has been renumbered, and stand at the intersection at the time of day when the crash happened. The 550 Spider that killed James Dean was one of the most dangerous production cars available to a private buyer in 1955. It was not built for Route 466 at dusk. Whether that makes the crash an accident of poor judgment, bad luck, or something else entirely is a question people have been arguing about for 70 years. What is not arguable is this. 9 days after he bought it, James Dean was dead. The car was gone within 5 years, and the mechanic who sat beside him that afternoon spent the next 26 years trying to move past an afternoon he described in that 1957 interview as something he relived every single day. That question about Alec Guinness warning Dean a week before the crash, do you believe he had a genuine premonition, or is that the kind of story that gets attached to tragedies in hindsight? Leave your answer below. If you want more stories about the events behind the events, the ones that get left out of the official version, you know what to do.